Good evening, everyone. It's your man of the hour, the man with the power, the living legend of professional wrestling punditry. Hello, my name is Lee Hazel, and this is a SteelChair shoot where wrestling's best writers fly from the hip and unleash their uncensored opinions upon an unsuspecting world. This week, we've given a live mic to James.
Hello, everybody.
To Joe.
Hey, hey.
And to Bradley.
Hello.
And this week, we are on the last stop to the road to WrestleMania. James, I think you had a joke about that being the last stop to road to WrestleMania, didn't you?
Yes, I had the point saying it's called Fastlane, and we're on the last stop to WrestleMania. But what if you stopped in the fast lane? You are more than likely going to die. Just
Very
saying,
wrong.
guys.
Most of
I feel like
it's from James.
And what, they're going to rename it to Lay-By?
Yeah, I feel like it's basically they had that term for the once or twice they did roadblock, and then they were like, you know what? The last stop on the road to WrestleMania. This is too good a pun to waste. Let's use it for Fastlane. No one will notice.
Got to keep the road aesthetic, guys.
Yeah.
We just got to keep it.
Now all pay-per-views will be road-based in naming.
We're on the road to the road chef for WrestleMania.
Backlash will now be renamed to Exit Ramp.
Oh, can we just please change No Mercy to Newport Pagnell?
Just to keep his gimmick of entering on random vehicles. One time, if it snows too much, Braun Strowman will enter on a salt spreader.
Well, this podcast's going to be chaos, so I can already feel it. Right, guys. So, as is tradition on this podcast, Bradley, would you take us through the pre-show? As you're the only idiot stupid enough to watch it.
I was. Always. You know what? First observations, I think they've changed how they've done things. There was a lot of people in the arena already. So, props to them. They realised, let's actually use the hard cam on a pre-show for once. And it was all right, to be fair. Well, I'll say it was all right. All right in terms of SmackDown's tag team division, I guess. But
well, I think before you continue, I think I should actually tell you who the participants are. So this was Breezango and Ty Dillinger versus Mojo Rawley, Chad Gable, and Shelton Benjamin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was one of those matches where a typical pre-show match where it's been thrown together, seemingly out of nowhere. I think there was a bit of a disagreement between, I think it was Mojo Rawley and Ty Dillinger, which I wouldn't even say mid-carders, they're low,
These bright new up-and-comers.
Yeah, at the bottom of the order at this point. But yeah, it was all right to get things started. It was a slow burner. Breezango got up to some comedy stuff because Mojo was basically calling them a joke, and so were Gable and Benjamin.
And the best way to combat that is by absolutely proving his point for him.
Yeah, being even funnier. But yeah, they were taken down early on, and they were made to feel a bit of a joke. And I think we're losing sort of the wrestling element from Breezango because they are both great wrestlers. But yeah, as the match went on, I think it was trying to remember what actually happened. I think Dillinger took a super kick from,
and that was it.
So I can actually fill in here. For once, half of this podcast has actually watched the pre-show.
Oh my god! The end of the world.
50% than 33.33333 something.
Joe, no, that's what we've got Bradley for. He's the whipping boy for this.
It's all right. I only actually watched the match. I didn't watch the pre-show, just the match. But I did just want to bring up one point, which is, so we are here in the just having left the last service station before WrestleMania. No more wee breaks till then. And last year's Andre the Giant Battle Royale winner was, of course, Mojo Rawley. How better to really build this match up before WrestleMania than having the previous winner lose in a six-man tag, taking the pin on the pre-show of Fastlane.
Kind of sums it up quite well, actually, because it just shows his fall from grace, or how they've never really had faith in him as a performer. So, and he did get slated a lot by the crowd as well. They started chanting, "You can't wrestle." And then his response was to say, "Well, I don't care about being a wrestler." It's like, well, obviously you do.
Mojo, it's what you're getting paid for.
Well, his job is actually sports entertainer.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of falling from grace, you mentioned the name Dillinger. Who is Dillinger? I have not seen that person in ages on SmackDown TV. I mean, he used to be in NXT, right? Yeah. I just haven't really seen him. He's just sort of disappeared.
I'm pretty sure he died at the Rumble, didn't he?
Yeah.
Kevin Owens killed him.
Wait, Superstars? Is that still a thing?
Yeah.
Why is that still a thing?
Well, this
Next
is
you'll be telling me main event is still a thing.
I think it might be as well. This is the kind of expert WWE punditry you can expect on this show, folks, by the way. We don't even know what shows WWE produce anymore.
Guys, I'll be real with you. There's so much wrestling in the week, not just counting all of WWE programming. It's hell. It's hell to watch it all. Honestly, help us.
Other wrestling outside of the WWE?
No, Joe, don't go down that path. You'll never come back.
Well, I mean, there is, of course, at the moment, if we could take a moment to talk about the New Japan Cup.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, why not?
That's not what we're here for.
Yeah. It'll take too long of a digression to talk about how that...
Right, okay, keep it down to 30 words. Count them on your fingers as you say them.
Okay. I'm counting these, by the way.
Got 25.
So I'm on 20. So far, there's been at least 3 match of the year contenders. One of them involving Zack Sabre Jr. Done.
I totally agree with that one because I watched that one earlier this morning.
And we'd love to talk about all of them, but unfortunately you pricks won't allow New Japan to drive up our ratings traffic, so we have to talk about WWE constantly.
Because the wrestling doesn't exist outside of America. It's only WWE. That is the only wrestling company that shall exist in the world of SteelChair. Oh my God. Let's carry on.
Cool. Right. Are we finished with the pre-show?
Yeah, let's.
I think we're finished with the pre-show about 30 minutes ago.
Okay then. Right. On with Shinsuke Nakamura defeating Rusev in what was actually not the most decisive of contests. Seeing as how this is the first match that you've watched, James, why don't you take us through this one?
Yeah, okay. I thought this was actually a pretty decent start to the pay-per-view if you skip the pre-show. So it was like you said, it was a decent contest and obviously we all thought that Nakamura was going to go over because it's just a win going into WrestleMania, so it's fine. He did take one hell of a kick from Rusev, though. Yeah, the kick that gift around the world.
Mm-hmm. The kick that turned Shinsuke Nakamura actually inside out. He flipped like a pancake for that one.
I mean, it helps to make Rusev look at least strong. I don't think he was too damaged by it. Even so, this was just I wouldn't say it's a throwaway match. It's at least filler, but at least it's good filler.
It's another one of those where it's sort of come out of nowhere, off the back of nothing. But it's good to see, they can still put on a good match against each other without there being any sort of storyline to it or anything. Yeah, it was good. I thought it was quite good.
Yeah.
Weird sort of pairing though, someone who's as hot as Rusev is and popular as well.
Well, both of them are before the actual WrestleMania, Shinsuke Nakamura doesn't really have an opponent, and Rusev's aimlessness. I mean, best gimmick in the company right now, one of the most over guys. He's got no feud. Surely he must be winning the Andre the Giant Battle Memorial because at the moment that's the only that's the only match that he's got on the card, the only possibility for him at the moment.
You could say that about a lot of people, though. There's a lot of people that don't have any direction at the moment that could. But it's proven not to mean anything. It's only going to mean something if they're willing to invest
Well, I mean, first time it happened, it was actually a really big deal for Cesaro, but then after that, like, the Big Show basically killed its momentum dead. And then Baron Corbin turned out to be just a complete disappointment. Well, at least from my perspective.
Well,
I know, Bradley, you've got a soft spot for him. Yeah.
Well, I never used to like him, and he's sort of growing on me.
Oh, okay.
But I felt sorry for him that he lost the Money in the Bank in the way that he did. But it was, I suppose, it serves as a reminder that it's not always a guaranteed cash in. But...
Yeah.
I did want to actually pitch in my mind. I just thought of what would be a perfect use for Rusev, or more specifically, really for Aiden English and Rusev, if they don't have anything else for them.
Mm-hmm.
What about if they did a bit of cross-brand stuff and had Rusev, Aiden English, and Elias as the WrestleMania hosts this year?
Oh, that would not be that bad, actually. I mean,
I've been calling for them to have an Elias and Aiden English segment since the Rumble. That they had Aiden English come out to announce Rusev number 1. I was hoping it was going to be English and Elias 1 and 2, and they were just going to do a concert till number 3.
Well, if the brand split is slowly fading away, this doesn't seem like a thing that may happen. I mean, it could happen. I see it happening now. Why have we just turned into Yodas?
No. Yeah, I mean, like, I would prefer he wrestled on the WrestleMania stage, but it never hurt the New Day any. Everybody thought that they were going to be the fourth team that got involved in the four-corner ladder match last year, and it turned out to be the Hardy Boys. But still, they were still massively popular throughout the year. So I think Rusev being able to show his personality off might actually even help him, especially with the babyface turn that he's surely due. Because with this match in general, I actually really liked it. And is this possibly Shinsuke Nakamura's best match on the main roster so far? I actually think it might be. Singles
wise, I definitely agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
I'm not too sure, because he did have regardless of the possible injury he took against John Cena a while back, that was at least a decent match that them two had together.
I think it's.
Are we talking about Rusev or are we talking about Nakamura right now?
Oh, Nakamura.
I was talking about Nakamura as well. Yeah.
I think it's down to his opponent, because I think he was allowed to be a bit stiffer with his kicks. He seemed like he was falling more into that sort of strong style.
Absolutely,
he looked like actually thumping Rusev, which is what you're hopefully going to expect at WrestleMania with AJ Styles, and they both know each other inside out. So yeah, if he is put with the right people, I think we are set to get an incredible main event at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
I'll ask a quick question though. Are we done with Rusev Day? Is anyone done with the whole Rusev Day thing?
No,
Not at all.
I think it's got legs till Mania, but I think after Mania, that's when you start, stepping away from it, just like calming it down a bit until eventually it just, becomes something.
You say that, but it's not like the WWE to milk a cow dry.
Oh Christ, yeah.
New Day, they're still throwing about pancakes, which should have stopped after the Royal Rumble.
Oh, they'll be like at WrestleMania, they'll all come out of a giant frying pan. I'm calling it now. Like they came out of the cereal box a few years ago. This time around, they're all going to come out of a giant frying pan.
Oh, what if Rusev and Aiden English emerged from a giant advent calendar setup where you had a door saying Rusev Day and he bursts through it?
And all of the doors of Rusev Day, and he has to keep going back into the advent calendar and burst out of the next one.
It can't have been longer than that Pitbull performance last year, so go for it.
Okay.
Oh, does that mean Kid Rock's going to perform?
Oh,
Probably.
God, no.
Almost certainly we are going to get Bar with the Bar this year.
Kid Rock with guest performers Elias and Double J.
Oh, Christ.
Jesus Christ.
I cannot talk about Kid. Anyway, right, Shinsuke Nakamura versus Rusev. In my opinion, slow start, but kind of cool to see them doing this sort of like slow methodical build. Thought it would explode sooner than it did, and eventually when it did explode into like, really cool action, it kind of then ended really abruptly. I'd like to have seen a bit like 2 or 3 more minutes of them just hammering at each other blow for blow, but otherwise really cool. Just a couple of points. Firstly, a little confusing booking. Rusev is clearly the heel because, Aiden English is taking the piss out of the crowd and he's Rusev's buddy, so they should clearly be the heels, but Shinsuke Nakamura is actually the one applying a headlock to Rusev, or like some sort of submission that Rusev is trying to power out of, and Rusev keeps going up and powers out, but then Shinsuke Nakamura like clamps him down, and then he tries to power out again, and that's a very face move. Like, that's a real face tactic. So the fact that he was supposed to be the heel kind of confused me there a little bit. And one thing that really annoyed me was Kevin Dunn was massively off his game during this match, because the cameras that he was using were perfectly positioned to really capture how hard Nakamura was striking Rusev. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, after the big wind-up and then the unleash, Kevin Dunn would just inexplicably
switch
cut
the camera.
away. Yeah,
it's
to
so,
a hard
it's
cam or
so
something.
PG. It's like, we can't let kids see any physical contact.
Yeah, but
in a wrestling show.
But that kick that Rusev gave Nakamura that just absolutely wiped him out, just did, we saw that full front and center, and other people get to, massively batter the shit out of other people without the camera cutting away. Finn Balor, for example, the double stomp that he does these days, if he's against an opponent that he's got the okay from to really take it, he buries his feet into their chest, and that's nothing. So, I don't know with Shinsuke, and as well, Shinsuke Nakamura, I don't know, maybe somebody in the back or Vince McMahon has told him to, cool it with the strong style stuff and with the strikes, because whereas he is, the king of strong style in New Japan, here, I don't actually think he's the hardest hitter. I think guys like Sheamus, Rusev,
he's more like the prince of strong. Not even that. He's like the master of strong style.
I think his opponents and the guys in WWE need to slowly get more accustomed to Shinsuke Nakamura's style and to Japanese style in general, as that's the way that the taste is turning for wrestling right now, and they are going to have to keep it PG certainly and maintain their safety standards, but they're going to have to bring in the strong style a little bit more gradually, bit by bit, just to sate people's appetite for it, because otherwise you're just going to get, New Japan chants and Bullet Club chants and all of those guys in the t-shirts showing up to your show, and you're going to have to put the Bullet Club on cameras, as much as you can, but but it'll have to be an acclamation. The WWE roster are going to have to get used to it, and Shinsuke Nakamura is going to have to get used to delivering it in WWE's more PG style, because I think with him, it's definitely a case of adaptation, because he's struggling at the minute to give us the kinds of matches that we really want from him, and I'm not even sure AJ Styles versus him is going to be precisely what we want, but I think maybe a year down the line, he'll have sorted out what he can do that WWE will be comfortable with, that will give us the 5-star matches that we really want. And but otherwise, I was actually not thinking that this would be a good bout, and it was, mainly because both Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev, their second languages are English, and I wasn't sure about their ability to communicate in the ring. So the fact that this was such a good match was a really good surprise for me. Anyway, moving on to the United States Championship between Randy Orton and Bobby Roode. Bradley, why don't you help us out with that one?
Well, it was one of those matches where it sort of died out in phases, and then it really just sort of, it was a big shock at the end where Orton literally hit an RKO out of nowhere. Because it's normally quite predictable where you might get it, but Roode went up to the top rope a few times and was hitting like these, what's it called now, like a diving axe handle or something like that. And he went for it again, and then Orton literally just popped up out of nowhere and caught him with an RKO, and then that was it. And as they say, it only takes one. So I think it's good that it's gone this way, because I think they're sort of rewarding Orton's loyalty with the company by, giving him the Grand Slam. And I think we're getting towards the Rude heel turn now, which we need, because he seemed a bit angered after the match. I think Jinder came out and attacked both of them, if my memory serves me correct. I can't remember. And then, Rude hit them both with a glorious DDT, I think. But yeah, it was an all right match. They both did the moves you expect. It went on longer than I thought it would. But yeah, there was the usual spine buster, the draped DDT from Orton. They hit all the right notes, but it just sort of fell a bit flat in between. Just sort of wasn't. I don't think they've got that sort of chemistry between them. So hopefully Orton's sort of a transitional champion, and then we can see what Rude could do as more of a heel champion. I think with the US title.
See, this is the match I was fine with until everyone here knows I'm not really a fan of Randy Orton.
I don't think even. Yeah, not many people are.
No, not even Bob Orton's a fan of Randy Orton at this point.
I think some days Randy Orton wakes up and even he can't be bothered to be his own fan.
I mean, he just like in his promos, he's just like sailing through. Like you can tell in his eyes, he's like somewhere else. He's just like, I'm gonna keep staying this promo until someone tells me to leave.
Yeah, his body language is one thing. How his arms have slowly regressed closer towards his head as he throws them up in the corner. But it's now becoming more prevalent in his voice as well, because he just doesn't give a shit.
I mean, his motivation for the title was just, I haven't had that one. Give it to me. and oh god, and like you said before, Jinder Mahal came out, and that was the point where I went, oh fuck off. This is ridiculous now.
I was going to say though, a fun fact to link in here, having mentioned Jinder Mahal, of discussing WWE Superstars earlier. It's in fact not been airing since November 2016.
Oh, really?
The very last episode of Superstars had two big matches in the form of Sin Cara beating Jinder Mahal and Bo Dallas defeating Curtis Axel in the main event of the last ever episode.
Oh my god, what an episode. Go back and watch that one, guys.
Well, I mean, they had to get rid of Superstars because Jinder Mahal was contractually obliged to be on it, and then they were giving him the belt, and you can't have the belt on Superstars, can you?
When Jinder Mahal came out, that's when I got reminded. Oh yeah, he was a champion. Oh yeah, hey, he was in a feud with Randy Orton. Now I've got bad memories in my head. Thanks a lot, WWE. and then
maybe we could have another Punjabi prison match at WrestleMania for the United States.
No. Stop that shit right now, Bradley.
The real question is though, when are we going to get the first women's Punjabi prison match?
They've suffered enough, Joe. Under Vincent Kennedy McMahon, the women have suffered enough.
What I really wanted to get into about this match is, like you said, Lee, before, the psychology of in the Nakamura-Rusev match. This psychology seemed a little bit off to me, where, like we said, he took Bobby Roode took an RKO and was basically out and done. That didn't stop him getting back up, doing two glorious DDTs, and then walking out with a slight headache.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, it wasn't long, was it? Yeah, it was longer than the 3 seconds it takes him to have his shoulders down on the mat. But yeah, I mean, from a personal standpoint, I really struggled to remember anything that happened in this match, as is the case usually with Randy Orton's modern stuff. I still can't believe that he was in the main event of WrestleMania last year for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. For the Tag Team Championship, that's the match he should have been in. But yeah, I can't believe he was fighting for and walked out of WrestleMania with the WWE Championship. I mean,
I ended up saying this means nothing to me.
He has this guy has had no relevance to WWE since probably Daniel Bryan and the Yes Movement. Since WrestleMania 30 years, I used to be a massive Randy Orton apologist. I used to think he was hugely underrated. I thought people being sick of him was just, like absurd. He's one of the best workers. He's got such good physical charisma. Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
he is dull as fuck.
And he's got a massive attitude problem, and that was one of the reasons why him versus Bray Wyatt wasn't working, because he wasn't into what they were doing, and he weren't shy about letting people know it. And one of the reasons I actually think this guy Randy Orton has got such a strong influence in WWE is because his merchandise sells really well, but his merchandise is all snakes and skulls, and that just sells well no matter what company you put it in. I mean, ask Ed Hardy. The guy made millions off of that design.
Yeah, there has to be a chance that a lot of people might be buying Randy Orton stuff, not realizing it's not Stone Cold merch.
Precisely, that is exactly going to be one of my points there. Yeah, it's exactly the rattlesnake and the steaming skull. It's the same goddamn aesthetic.
But hey, he did give us a good tribute to Bottom in that was it that House of Horrors match where he got crushed by a fridge.
Seriously, how has that fridge not claimed its title shot yet? Justice for fridge.
God, Joseph, have you got any thoughts on this one?
No, not really.
No, me neither.
This was the match where I watched it the next day in the middle of the afternoon and I started to fall asleep. So that's my thoughts.
Oh, I've got. Yeah, we just needs more fridges. That's what we can leave.
Bobby Roode was working quite hard to try and make this match interesting, but he was competing with Randy Orton. Who was just like, well, I'll go through this. I'll get another title to hang up in wherever I hang my titles, and I'll go home.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Roode at the moment just doesn't stick out in WWE like he stuck out in NXT. Like he had, like his style, which is a pretty much a standard American showmanship style, a WWE style, and because he was in NXT for so long, they didn't really have that. But now, especially with people like Orton, they've got it in abundance, and he's just not. He's not got that je ne sais quoi that he had in NXT. And let's face it, frankly, when the NXT Championship went from Samoa Joe to Finn Balor to Shinsuke Nakamura, putting it on Bobby Roode was a bit of a step down. I hate to say it, but it kind of was. I
think the problem I actually have at the moment, and this is a bit controversial, I think, which is quite simply, Bobby Roode was entirely turned face because of his music. Really, the only thing was people weren't booing him because he was doing all the glorious stuff.
Yeah, people love a bit of Queen.
And I feel like it's almost, sadly, if they want him to actually be effective as a character, he has to turn heel. If they want to be effective as a heel, they kind of have to lose the music. Because it's almost too good for anyone to ever not cheer him.
To me, though, that is the heel persona, though, being so, up himself that he thinks he's glorious.
Yeah, you know what they could do? They could, if they wanted to turn him heel and use the music to chase that, they do the whole piano thing, like, and then he just walks out. Nothing after that.
Do the Dolph Ziggler record scratch?
Pretty much. I mean, that's like that totally kills the vibe. And plus, it's not like Dolph Ziggler's using it right anyway. I mean, does the record scratch come after? Does it come before? Does it even come at all? Who cares?
And that record scratch is way too comical. Like, it should just be a straight zip instead of that, like... I don't know, like, I just want to... It feels like the punchline to a joke every time I hear it. And he is the most humorless guy in WWE right now, and that is up against some stiff competition.
Did you know that Dolph Ziggler was on this pay-per-view?
Yeah.
I just remembered this now.
Oh, wow.
Well,
spoilers for my thoughts on the match later.
Yeah. I mean, well, to be fair, we have got 3 matches to discuss before that, so why don't we move, because none of us have really got much else to say about Randy Orton versus Bobby Roode, do we? Cool then. Okay, up next, guys, Natalya and Carmella versus Becky Lynch and Naomi in a tag team match. Yeah, this happened. Joe, Sorry, I keep calling you Joseph because it's how it's
Wake
written on
up, Joe.
Facebook.
It's fine.
Wake up.
Okay, so thoughts on this match. I always come to this point where I'm going to say first, Becky Lynch, I think, is still one of the most underrated babyface performers they have.
Seconded.
Yes.
Just on any of the rosters, regardless of gender. Naomi is a very impressive athletic superstar. Carmella, another thing I remembered while watching this, did you know she still has the Money in the Bank briefcase?
Yep. And people thought she was going to cash it in.
Yeah.
Spoiler, she doesn't.
She's not cashing that. Like, and if she does,
Yeah.
she ain't going to be successful. Her time has passed massively on this.
Yeah.
She's held it
And
longer than Edge.
the problem for Carmella is she risks holding it for so long that she becomes Natalia.
Uh-huh.
That being someone who everyone's like, do you ever win? Even when you've won the title, did you really win it?
Well, she won
Because
this
I
match,
can't
and I
think
forgot
of
that.
a single, apart from that time she beat Naomi. Was it Naomi she beat for the title?
Yeah.
Probably. I can't think of a single time I've seen her get an important, or for that matter, an impressive win. It always feels like she's, whenever you think of bits in these tag matches where things get sloppy, Natalia's there.
Yeah, every time. And well, no, I mean, like, I think Natalia is one of the most underrated women in WWE history, because my favourite women's match in WWE of all time is the original NXT arrival, her versus Charlotte. I still think that's better than, Sasha versus Bayley in the Iron Man woman match. Still the Sasha versus Bayley in the ladder match. And the fact that she went so unrecognised for so long, and then got this massive title win out of absolutely nowhere, but nobody could buy into her, despite the fact that she is one of the most accomplished female wrestlers in the entire company. And even now,
So what you're saying is, your favourite match isn't Melina versus Alicia Fox?
funnily enough, Joseph, that wasn't in my mind when I was picking my top 5.
Okay.
Although now that you mention it, maybe it should have been.
If it's good enough for Cameron.
Right, okay. I completely forgot that Natalia and Carmella won over Becky Lynch and Naomi, especially because later
They
on,
won?
Yeah, they won.
Oh, god damn it, I forgot.
Yeah,
Especially
if
because
you
later
don't
on,
remember
yeah.
the finish, Natalia jumped up on the apron with the Money in the Bank briefcase for some reason, which this was enough to distract Becky Lynch, allowing Carmella to hit a super kick for the pin. And I think that silence says it all.
Yeah,
It was as anticlimactic as that.
Yeah.
Oh god, right. Who haven't we heard from? Brad, do you remember anything of this?
I don't remember yesterday. Yeah, I just remember seeing it and thinking, I feel sorry for Becky Lynch, and that was it, really. And maybe that I'm starting to think, well, with what happened on Raw as well, now I'm starting to think Carmella's going to cash in on Alexa Bliss, but that's not to do with this match. Yeah, I just feel like they're all, the women's division again are just lacking direction. If they're not the main event for the women's title, if they're not the main story for the women's title, then that's it, because there's no secondary title, and there's nothing for them.
You get put into this melting pot where there's absolutely no distinction between anybody.
Yeah.
You're given 5 minutes of WrestleMania.
You do what Raw are doing, and you sort of make some sort of bullying, fat-shaming story with Nia Jax, and then...
Oh my god, that was insane.
Wait, what? That's real?
Yeah.
I
saw that yesterday, and Nia Jax, the monstrous, huge heel from Raw, the woman who could probably break half of the roster in her bare hands, was sobbing for an uncomfortably long amount of time as the camera was tight in on her face. By the way, this is Raw last night, because we're taping this on the Tuesday after the pay-per-view, so a few of us have seen Raw already.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, yeah. So, like, none of us have seen SmackDown yet, so we don't know what the aftermath of SmackDown's going to be. But yeah, like, that was just absolutely
Cheap plug.
horrendous.
I will say, having not watched it, with the announcement of the Fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royal, that does sound exactly like the kind of thing Fabulous Moolah would endorse.
Yes.
Looking back at some of her history.
Yep. We're going to move on to the Usos versus the New Day for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. And I'll actually take this one first, because I spoke to Jimmy Uso recently, and Jimmy Uso is, like, the Usos are massively, massively underrated at the moment, I think. I think they should be up there in the discussion as one of the greatest WWE tag teams of all time. Absolutely. Like, and right there with the New Day. Their gimmick change in the last year has been an absolute renaissance for them. The heel turn, the Uso Penitentiary is one of the catchphrases of the last, I would say, 5 or 10 years in WWE. Their mic skills, as Jimmy was telling me as I was interviewing him, like people keep telling us, well, you've got a lot better on the mic. And he was like, we never actually once had the opportunity to promo in WWE before now. They never gave us mics when we were faces, when we were doing the play hard in the paint thing. And it's kind of a revelation as you sort of realise that, yeah, actually, they never have done. Because, you know, like, they didn't learn, like, they went from 0 to 60 on their promo skills recently, and it's like, it's not like they just suddenly learned how to be good in 5 seconds. So yeah, like, they've been
it's one of those things as well that actually, with it being the New Day, who they seem to have cemented it as every good or every great generation of tag team wrestling has its feuds. Like, obviously, the Attitude Era was defined by Edge and Christian and the Hardys and the Dudleys and interplay between those. It's actually, I think you could see if you watch Xavier Woods' YouTube channel, Up, Up, Down, Down, like even before they turned heel, actually, when Jimmy and Jay were on that, they seemed quite talkative and quite charismatic people. And it was when you were thinking, so if they're like this out of character, why aren't they letting them be these characters? Why? And it's good to see them finally flourishing in not so much actually playing themselves as being able to, well, actually play characters instead of just being action figures. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I was going to say about this match was just the fact that, okay, they've gone into it with a story, because Xavier Woods always brings a really good story into anything that he does. And because they know that they've gotten only, like, they know they're going for, like, less than 10 minutes, they've decided to bring themselves, like, the B story, like one of the ideas they probably had months ago, but they were like, this one's too hokey, where it's just like, they just keep doing each other's moves over and over and over again, which is nice. You liked it?
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
I think it was clever, and I think it was okay, but the problem therein is that they know their own moves a lot better than they know each other's moves. So it's not quite got the smooth and the incredibly timed, really, like, great chemistry ring action that you expect from the Usos in the New Days, like they gave us at Hell in a Cell, like they gave us at SummerSlam, like they've even given us on SmackDowns.
But
I will say, I think... Sorry, you go first, Bradley.
I think, having said that, the fact they're using each other's moves, it shows that how well they know each other both as tag teams, and it sort of brings their feud to a good conclusion, that they're that good that they can do each other's moves.
But it's not concluded yet, has it? Because I get the feeling.
I mean, like, as teams 1-on-1.
Yeah. Yeah, probably, because this is probably their last fight 1-on-1 before WrestleMania, when they will probably be in what I am predicting now will be a triangle ladder match between Usos, the New Day, and the Bludgeon Brothers. Would anyone like to tell us what happened at the conclusion
Mario
of
Brothers.
this match?
Oh, sorry.
No, right, okay, you've got the wrong brothers there. Right game franchise, but do you remember the ones that used to throw the hammers? The Hammer Bros. That's
I don't think I'm old enough.
legitimately what they are.
I will say here, I'm pretty sure I've stolen this joke from another wrestling podcast, but out came the Bludgeon Brothers looking like the. Has anyone here watched the show Batman of the Future?
Yeah.
You know how there were all the kids of the Batman superheroes who had similar-ish but slightly more futuristic costumes? The Bludgeon Brothers are basically the future children of Kane in their outfits.
I thought that
they're just.
I made a tweet about it a while ago that Eric Rowan. Have you seen Adventure Time?
Yes.
Surprisingly, no. But
yeah, Eric Rowan looks like Finn Merton's dad. Mervyn Merton, like he really does.
Oh god, that is a deep Adventure Time cut there from Bradley.
Yep.
I just
So out came Kane's son and Finn from Adventure Time's dad, and they decide to crash the match and beat up everyone.
It was brutal.
Now, the actual beat down itself, I thought was actually really well done, with especially things like Xavier Woods taking powerbomb on stairs and looking legitimately like he was injured for a second.
Yeah, I mean, he was convulsing, like, for about, I would say, like, after they came back from the replays, he was still convulsing. Now, if this is all an act, it's an act he must have been keeping up for about 4 or 5 minutes, and that takes some commitment.
But I did want to point out one thing here, which is something that always mildly annoys me, which is when people do surprise attacks, that they signal by having the production crew set off their music and Titantrons. Then you've got a good at least 10-15 seconds while you're waiting for the music to hit the point when they're going to enter, where you can prepare yourself for the surprise attack.
Well,
especially when there's 5 of you.
Well, that would usually be a problem if it weren't for the fact that they're carrying massive hammers and are legitimately trying to hit people with them. Especially, like, I can't remember who it was and I don't remember who he was aiming for, but someone swung a hammer at a guy's cranium while it was pinned up against the stairs. If connecting would have burst it open like a watermelon like you see at a Gallagher show.
and yeah, given the fact that their entrance as well is that the fact they have to walk very slowly up to each other, disrobe, and then slowly walk down the ramp.
Yeah. They do look like a couple of characters from a D&D campaign that they're taking way too seriously.
It's got Vince McMahon written all over it, though.
Yeah,
hasn't it? Like,
absolutely, yeah. And to be fair, I think it fits them, and I am happy that they've got something, like, rolling up to WrestleMania, because, for a long time, they were so underutilized. They were so underrated, especially when they finally broke away from Bray Wyatt, and they finally became a tag team. And then for some reason, like 2 weeks later, they split them up and put them on different shows, when they had such great chemistry in the ring. Like, doing basically what they're doing now, which is they just fling each other into their opponents, like slap each other around the face, like toss each other into the turnbuckle, like steamrolling their opponents, body slamming their opponents onto each other, body slamming themselves onto their opponents. Just really visceral, violent stuff, and it fit their gimmick so well. And now they're actually going to go ahead and do something with it, finally, after about 2 or 3 years of waiting. Anybody else want anything to say about this?
Just confirming that Xavier Woods was injured during that. He his injuries to his thoracic spine. Yeah, that was definitely an injury.
However, the only news source we have from this is WWE's official news source, and they are not above putting kayfabe stuff like it is real and legitimate. So while I do not look down anybody who thinks that this news is real, I'm just gonna say maybe have a look in a couple of weeks' time, him making a surprise return to SmackDown in time for WrestleMania.
Like, remember the time Brock was fined, what was it, $100, $500 for busting open Randy Orton's head?
It couldn't have been as little as that, surely. That's walking around money for him. Oh, okay,
literally,
right, yeah.
literally, like Paul Heyman walked up to the ring and went like, here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, here's 4, here's 5. There you go. For almost killing Randy Orton.
Okay, guys, we're going to move on then, and we're going to talk about Charlotte Flair defeating Ruby Riott for the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship. James, we'll go with you on this one.
Well, there had to be something there to pad out time, I guess, until WrestleMania. I mean, it was fine. It was all right. Charlotte got the good offense in after Ruby dominated for a while, and the Riot Squad did eventually start interfering. But then in came Naomi and Becky Lynch to help out, and then didn't all the interfering people get thrown out?
Yeah, at some
Yep.
point, yeah.
Even though the Riot Squad didn't technically do anything within the referee's view.
Oh no,
So-
I think they did. I think they got caught like on the ring apron.
But wouldn't they have got disqualified if that was the case?
Not on the ring apron. They had just finished
Oh.
beating the crap out of Charlotte.
Oh, okay, fair
Yeah,
enough.
but they were
I'll
still
put
like
that
too
in there.
close to the ring. Yeah.
And they've really undersold Ruby's finisher, haven't they?
I think Ruby's finisher is like if that's her best move, she needs to get herself more moves.
But it's a difficult one because she's quite a technical wrestler. She's quite good.
Yeah.
I think part of it is it's down to commentary as well.
Mm-hmm.
They just sort of don't sell it enough as the finisher. Whereas, I thought it was a better match than some of the ones previous.
What do you mean? The tag match we saw earlier.
Yeah. It was all right. I think there was a few sort of awkward spots in there where they sort of tried to lift each other or didn't know their positioning quite so well.
Yeah.
But it generally it was all right. It told a good story in the end, considering for the previous 10 weeks since
Tell us what you
10
really
weeks since
think.
the Riot Squad have been a thing. They've it's sort of been a bit dead. But the promo she did last week was all right, and then it made her sort of look like a legitimate contender. But still, if you're not Charlotte on SmackDown and the SmackDown Women's Division, then it seems like you know one.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't
I-
help. Sorry, I was going to just quickly say, it doesn't help that the Riot Squad is basically dire absolution.
Yeah. I mean,
I think that I thought they actually did quite well with this match. It was possibly this or the Rusev Nakamura match might have actually been beginning to end possibly my favorite non-main event match. But I think it's a weird one because what you've essentially got is Charlotte playing the underdog babyface when she's a very natural heel type performer and is still struggling to really emote properly as a babyface. And then you've got Ruby Riott, who in her NXT days was developing quite an itch as being one of the more sympathetic underdog baby faces there, trying to play the heel role that Charlotte's so good at.
Again, it seems like something that Vince McMahon has sort of saw the appearances of people, and then he's just gone, well, you wear dark makeup, you've got dark hair, tattoos, you're obviously a heel. So, I think sometimes creative just sort of lacks. They don't look at what people have done in NXT.
As we've brought up old 2000s cartoon shows for the last couple of matches, I think I'll add in my 2 cents here to this one. Ruby Riott essentially looks like one of the bad guys out of X-Men Evolution. And X-Men Evolution wound me up massively because essentially what they did was they signified every single good guy by being conventional jock cheerleader type. Against everyone in the Brotherhood, every single one of which had like a side shave or a dyed hair or like a mouth piercing of some description, and like that really wound me up back in the day because look, X-Men is supposed to be about inclusion, and there's such signaling as to who the bad guy is through just alternative lifestyling, and that just to me was so counter to what the X-Men was. Anyway, that is such a tangent. That is
You heard
such
it
a
here first,
tangent.
folks.
Good
Vince
God.
McMahon
Anyway.
ripped off X-Men Evolution.
Oh,
You know what? Let's not bother talking about the main event. Let's just get into this X-Men Evolution chat.
It's...
Welcome to the cartoon podcast.
Do you know what, Joseph? Despite the fact that you have just stepped up and given me this platform, I'm going to have to bring things back round again. Yeah. I'm actually a little bit surprised. Everyone I know, every opinion about this pay-per-view I've seen says that Charlotte Flair versus Ruby Riott is the better of the two women's matches. And yet I remember so much of like this being actually quite sloppy. Like Ruby Riott a few times especially, not really. I think she still needs to get used to the 20x20 ring. I really do, because she seems to be having real difficulties with it. And I just didn't really... Sorry?
I think where they did make mistakes or where they seemed a bit staggered, they recovered quite well though. Like it still managed to sort of transition.
Yeah, but I as well though, I kind of actually feel like and maybe I'm misremembering this entirely, but I seem to remember the action being smoother in the tag match. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not right in that.
I don't know.
Okay, yeah. I to be honest, like if the action was smooth, it was also so uneventful. Nobody really cares. But yeah. But anyway, Charlotte defeats Ruby Riott, retains the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship, and out comes. Does anyone want to take this?
Bah, bah, bah. Bah, 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 bah.
And here's a...
90,000 mountains away. Oh, we're not doing the whole theme.
No.
We've got the intro. We've got the intro.
Okay, so Asuka comes out, and if I may say so, Asuka actually comes out, and she has got a swagger in her step I haven't seen since NXT. She came out with a much bigger grin, doing those dance moves with a lot more conviction. The way she was just carrying herself just seemed she had stepped up the game a little bit. So yeah, like there is that, and we have now got Charlotte Flair versus Asuka at WrestleMania. Finally, as everyone predicted, as everybody wanted, the absolute best outcome for WrestleMania's women, for the women's division at WrestleMania. Does anybody have anything else to say on that?
Hell yes.
Mostly.
Sorry.
No,
sorry. I was just going to say. I'll let James say and saying just. I'm glad she's moved over to SmackDown just because I've checked and I'm pretty sure she's, if not televised, at least in matches, she's pretty much beaten everybody over on Raw.
Yeah.
In singles or tag. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of, what does she do now? She's beaten everyone. Even if she has the title, who can step up to fight her? She's beaten them all.
I think Eclipse, Ember Moon comes back after a while. I think that's who challenges her.
Mm. But yeah, you were going to say, James?
I was going to say, hell yes, but she pointed out the WrestleMania sign, so you know how much I hate that.
I think that Charlotte has to beat Asuka. The reason for that being is, what happens if she beats Charlotte? That you can't. Does that mean Ronda Rousey's going to build her way up to then beat the streak or something like that? Because I am not a big fan of undefeated streaks.
Even the Undertaker.
Yes. Well, it probably should have ended sooner than it did. See Bill Goldberg for more details.
Yeah. Oh, who likes Goldberg in the first place?
Goldberg likes himself.
And that's...
and once again, I will use this as a reminder that we all have to take a moment to be sad for Goldberg's kid, who still hasn't got to see his dad wrestle.
I don't feel sorry for him. He dabbed on TV.
There's only one fight where Goldberg actually had to wrestle in his life. It was against William Regal, and he was made to look a fool.
I've actually seen that one. It's hilarious.
Yeah. So I'll finish off that discussion then, if everybody else is done with that stuff, by simply saying that the problem I think with the Ruby Riott matches and the whole road to WrestleMania in general is that everybody knows, like, about 2 or 3 months in, what the big fight is going to be at WrestleMania, but who you fight in between then and Mania, you're not really going to care, because all people are doing is looking straight past that and straight on at the grandest stage of them all. So, like, I think this match is a victim of that, as is Shinsuke Nakamura versus Rusev. And to a certain extent, so is Randy Orton versus Bobby Roode. The whole road to WrestleMania thing is well and good, but everybody knows that everything in between is kind of just filler building up to the big event. And speaking of victims of that particular thing, AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens, John Cena, Dolph Ziggler, Baron Corbin, and Sami Zayn in a six-pack challenge for the WWE Championship that we all kind of knew was going to be AJ Styles winning it, specifically because that him versus Nakamura is the match we want to see. Now, granted, I will say I kind of went into this match a little bit terrified that they would actually give the belt to John Cena, thinking that AJ Styles versus Nakamura would not be a big enough draw for SmackDown's title, and wanting to put the belt around the waist of old, reliable, old faithful John Cena, as AJ Styles has his, invokes his rematch clause at WrestleMania against both Nakamura and John Cena. But fortunately, that didn't happen. Guys,
I thought that as well.
Yeah, Bradley, would you like to take us away on this?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I did think that as well. It was good to see. It was a good match. There were so many sort of storylines rolled into one. You had the stuff with Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Shane McMahon going on as well, which, that bit really infuriated me. I'm so sick of Shane McMahon. That he's supposed to be a face in all of this, and they're making Kevin and Sami out to be the bad guys. But they're just doing what Roman's doing essentially at the moment by breaking the fourth wall and saying, this is how things are going on. Like, we're not getting our fair shot, this, that, the other. And they're made out to be bad guys, and I don't get it. Like, Shane is a dick. He is a fucking dick.
It is all the ego. Like, he puts himself in harm's way. He should expect to get kicked in the fucking face, which, by the way, I will pleasure myself to that image until the day I die.
I was so ready for... When Sami had the pin, I was like, I knew Shane was going to pull him out of the ring. But at the same time, I was like, I would have cried if Sami Zayn won the championship. Because that guy deserves so much more. Him and Owens deserve so much more. Zayn went to SmackDown for his chance to start having title opportunities, and I guess the fact that he was in a main event six-pack challenge, he's getting title opportunities, but he's been screwed over time and again. And I think the Zayn and Owens story would have so much more to it if there was actually a championship involved as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the match itself, there was the spots between individual feuds and stuff like that. Ziggler keeps bringing out zigzags out of nowhere, which I really enjoy. I think, there was so much. Everyone played their part, and I thought it was a really good match.
Yeah, I think going back
as well. Sorry. There was the bit I really liked at the start where Cena sort of delivered AAs to everyone. It was like, oh, I'm Super Cena. But then, just like with the Royal Rumble, they all just ganged up on him. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, I really like the fact that, F5? No. Gonna call it the FU, but that's not even right anymore. We live in the PG era. Yeah. AA to you, AA to you, AA to you. AJ Styles is too smart to fall for it, which, makes AJ Styles look, I suppose, a little smarter than the rest of them. Although, to be honest, by the time they got to Dolph Ziggler, surely Dolph Ziggler should have realised what was coming. Surely.
Also, having spoken about AJ Styles, obviously, here, and also with the discussion earlier of the place of Nakamura and the strong style in WWE, did anyone else think there was a bit of extra something behind AJ Styles' punches towards Kevin Owens? Like, I don't know whether it's just they're more comfortable with each other or if there's something going on there, but he was stiffing him at times.
Yeah, there was something, I don't remember which exchange it was. I was actually starting to think that it may have been AJ Styles and John Cena, but you might be right there. I think it was him versus Kevin Owens, and they were just whacking each other. They were just I think maybe what happened is that AJ Styles accidentally hit Kevin Owens a bit too hard, and then Kevin Owens just gave him his good back, and then it kind of devolved.
And and it turned into Lesnar and Strowman at the Rumble again.
Yeah. Only this is the that was a supersized version of what this was. This was the Happy Meal version.
I will say it was quite nice having this match be after the tag match, the women's match, and the US title ones. In that all three of those matches kind of at times came down to one of the people criticizing the other one for having a dad who was also a wrestler.
Yeah.
At least in this match, no one had a wrestler dad to criticize each other about.
Yeah. The Flairs, the Usos, Bret Hart, Bob Orton. Oh, okay, yeah.
Just the title matches I was on about, really.
Sorry,
Well,
so,
I made a terrible joke and it's full flat on its arm.
Oh, sorry. You can say it again and we can cut this bit out if you like.
No. Let's just move on.
The moment's gone.
Because to be honest, Bradley, I wasn't going to cut this bit out at all. I was just going to let you do it.
Oh, well, if we're not cutting this bit out, I think it's time to get back to cartoon chat. So, the dreadlocked Joker in the Batman series.
James, dig us out of this hole, please.
I'll try to dig us out of this hole. I feel like we're a bit too far out of it now. Oh god, what to even say about it? One little nitpick, just like the nittiest of nitpicks in this match is that I feel like AJ has kind of overused the reversal of the AA, where he lands on his feet. I feel like
no one does it better than him though.
I know, but we've seen it so many times now. It was really not really cool when he did it the first time, but now it's like he just pops it out every time, and it's like cool. I guess.
There's a move that Styles does that I think doesn't get enough credit is when he goes for that. He does like a backflip into a reverse DDT.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, that was good.
He's done it twice to Zayn, where he's landed perfectly with him just rested in his arms to land it. It's just incredible.
He is the smoothest wrestler in WWE by a long margin. One of the smoothest wrestlers in the world, and every single time I see him, I'm just like, he is your MVP. He is your main event player. He makes everybody else look,
But also, you've got there someone like Sami Zayn, who, even if you consider AJ Styles to be the smoothest, especially in WWE, Sami's probably the second smoothest, I'd say, maybe, because the way he's able to do that diving tornado DDT
so good
across the turnbuckle, I feel like if anyone else did that, they would have gone head first into the turnbuckle at least once by now. But he nails it every time.
Yeah, and we haven't seen that in a while. Sorry, go.
Fun thing about that tornado DDT on one of the 2K games, I had that on my moveset on an elimination chamber, and I did it, and because obviously the map is level with the caged part of the elimination chamber, my legs disappeared. into the cage thing.
Well, thankfully, no one's legs disappeared, Bradley.
Thankfully, he wasn't involved in the elimination chamber this time. It was a Raw branded pay-per-view, so he was safe from having his legs decapitated.
Especially as Braun was there. Braun might have just torn his legs off.
Yeah. Pulled him apart like a wishbone. Ugh.
Just a quick question about the Styles versus Nakamura match. Are they slowly going to build Styles as a heel coming up to this? Because there was a quick promo, quick interview they did with Styles and Nakamura backstage, and Styles was quick to interrupt Nakamura and brashly, and did seem I wouldn't go as far as to say a bit arrogant, but it just came across as slightly heelish.
Well, in my mind, AJ Styles has almost was somehow still the heel at the Royal Rumble when he was in a handicap match for his title.
Yeah. For the main events at WrestleMania, especially for the SmackDown stuff, we've got Charlotte Flair versus Asuka, and we've got AJ Styles versus Nakamura. Now, this is WWE. which means Vince would be happier if it was, instead of being, a straight up sporting contest between, two of the best people in the world, that there would be a hero and there would be a villain. Now, in Charlotte Flair versus Asuka, surely Charlotte Flair has got to turn heel and become the villain in this scenario. But in AJ Styles versus Nakamura, I have absolutely no idea who is going to be face and who is going to be heel.
I mean, I think Styles is already halfway there. He's already proved himself to be a good heel, so that would at least work.
But also, if you go back and watch some of the stuff from New Japan, when the Chaos stable formed at first, it was a heel stable, and Nakamura was one of the lead heels in it. He was the captain of it. And especially if you want to look at one match of seeing how effectively he can work as a top heel, look at his Wrestle Kingdom 9 match with Kota Ibushi, where he even actually comes out in an outfit inspired by one of the villains from Voltron. But just for another fun cartoon reference.
This is what we're going to turn into, isn't it? This is what's slowly happening.
It's both men, theoretically, I think, could work as the villain of the story. But it does seem like they're... Even if it's just a subtle move towards making AJ be more of the person who people are more ready to boo than Nakamura, it doesn't necessarily need to be as clean cut, but it does seem like they may be moving him more in that direction.
It's an intriguing one that we'll have to see how it develops. I mean, if you can be asked to watch SmackDown.
I am aware that in the same sense as the WWE, I just mentioned the word subtly, which doesn't always go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. I really don't want to do this, but I have to go back to the point about Shane McMahon because I've just got too many things to talk.
Because he's a dick.
Firstly, I hate the fact that we even have to talk about Shane McMahon here, and I hate the fact that he's taken up so much of this conversation already when we've got 6 world-class athletes in the ring. We've not even mentioned Baron Corbin yet. No one's even said anything about Baron Corbin, about how he just absolutely demolished Dolph Ziggler through that hockey barrier, which was a great spot. And that thing he does where he gets slides out of the ring, runs around the ring post back into the ring, clocks somebody with a clothesline, is one of the best spots in WWE at the moment, because honestly that makes a lot of sense as well. But going back to Shane, starting off the thought that I was going to finish, when he came out, and he came out first, I was like, right, with his entrance and his music and everything, I was like, well, if he's going to be out there, fucking put out Daniel Bryan as well.
He was with his family.
Why is he even there? And I was like, right, okay, you have got 4 options, mate. You can either take a long walk off a short pier, you can get in the ocean, you can get in the bin, you can go fuck yourself, or preferably all 4 at once.
It's just, I just think he's overly charismatic when he's just a bit of a twat.
They overestimate him, Shane, Stephanie. They all massively overestimate their bankability.
When they come back, they had such a great idea that what the feud could have been. Do you remember when he come back and he said something to Vince about, don't forget about this. He said something like, don't forget about this briefcase with all these details. Or
it was a lockbox.
A lockbox.
I remember.
And nothing's happened since. Nothing got mentioned of it since then. And it's like one of those. It's like a Tarantino thing. What was inside the lockbox?
To be fair, that is actually one instance where I weirdly really like what happened there, which was the stipulation of the Undertaker match he had at the Hell in a Cell at that WrestleMania was, if Shane lost, he agreed that the lockbox would be got rid of and never mentioned again. And lo and behold, it was. That's consistent storytelling.
Oh, Christ. Anyway, right. Yeah. And then when he got, super kicked, I was thinking... And the thing is that he really should be the bad guy in this situation, because the amount of hatred I felt for him as he yanked Kevin Owens out of the pin, the amount of hatred I felt for him when he yanked Sami Zayn out of the pin, and the timing on both of those saves, by the way, both of those breakups was incredible. It was the most perfect timing you could have gotten for it. And if he was a heel, if I was supposed to feel about him the way I feel about him now, this would be one of the feuds of the year. But the fact that they want him to be the good guy simply because he's the Smiley McMahon, and they want to have at least one McMahon.
Is that Vince's illegitimate son? Smiley McMahon.
Smiley McMahon.
You remember when, early on in the days of the brand split, Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon stood in the ring and said about how SmackDown was going to be different because it wasn't going to be about them?
Yeah, it's supposed to be the land of opportunity, and it is not.
To borrow a phrase off of another wrestling content brand new era, same old shit.
Yep.
I mean, it's like, yay, it took the opportunity away from two upcoming stars. Wait, why is this a good thing? Mm-hmm. Why is this good?
Well, I mean, and the thing is that, if they brought back Daniel Bryan for for an Undertaker sort of style contract where he wrestles like once every 6 months, people would be into it. But the fact that they keep putting him in these situations when clearly he is just eyeing the clock for his exit. You can see it in his face whenever he is on. Like, you can see it, especially during this storyline. He's like, yeah, I know what's going on here because I go through this shit in real life, and frankly, I'm sick of people bringing it up. You can just see it, like, it's painted on his face. But just like, I think that was that is a blot on what is by far and away match of the night. A really cool match. Fast, furious, every single person out there working like they know Mania's coming up in a few weeks and they want to impress the boss because it's almost as if Vince, in gorilla position backstage, he went to him one by one as everyone went out there. Right, okay, your performance in this match dictates what you're going to be doing at Mania, dictates how long you're going to be out there, dictates your position on the card. Now go out there and do me proud. And every single person was performing. Every single one of them, from Kevin to Cena to Dolph to Baron to Sammy to AJ Styles. Every single one of them was busting their asses, and it is one of the better matches I have seen on a WWE pay-per-view in months.
So we do now have the point where, as you say that about maybe Vince saying to them, perform well, and that determines what happened. Mm-hmm. But AJ Styles is still the only person in this main event who now has a WrestleMania match.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now
does anyone have any predictions what anyone else there is going to be doing?
Well, they'll all at least be in the Battle Royal.
Well,
which is a guaranteed way to get to WrestleMania.
Well, as we saw earlier, yesterday at Raw, it's going to be Cena Taker.
Spoiler alert!
Huh?
Spoiler alert!
I do have a slightly.
It's going to be Wednesday until everybody sees this. Until everybody hears this.
I do have a slightly. It's kind of an off-piece prediction, but it might come true. Which is in the interview that I did with Baron Corbin, that's also available on Vulture Hound. He spoke of a desire to actually go over to Raw and try and ply his trade with some of the people over there.
Oh, really?
Baron and Braun Strowman single-handedly won a Battle Royal for a shot at the tag team titles at Mania last night on Raw. I think Braun Strowman and Baron Corbin could be quite the fun tag team.
But he's the lone wolf.
Do you know what? If that's going to be his match, do you know who is do you know who his tag team partner's going to be, or is he going to be tag team champion all by himself?
It's not been said. He won the match on his own, but it's not known if he's going to find a tag partner or if he's just going to do
James Ellsworth.
No.
If that is the case, I just my heart sinks, because frankly that means that he is probably going to bury both Sheamus and Cesaro by himself.
But on Raw, they did say that they wanted to transfer to SmackDown, or they wanted to face someone from SmackDown. I think.
Who? The bar.
Yeah. Which I do think will happen. Like that, there is going to be a good shake-up. I think it's needed at this point. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what could happen at this point. I don't want Strowman to win tag titles on his own, because then that just pisses on everyone else.
Yeah.
With the other people in this match, do you think there's a chance any of them could, if they're going ahead with a multi-man match for the US title even, do you think maybe an Corbin Owens or a Zayn or a Corbin or a Ziggler could get into that?
I mean, like, what their match is going to be at WrestleMania is they're going to have a handicap match against Shane McMahon, and they are going to lose it.
Boo.
If that happens, I will delete the WWE network.
This is something we say all the time, though. This is something I've said.
I just want it to be a handicap match, and Shane seems to be losing when suddenly his army of sons comes down to the ring, and then they all turn on their dad.
The sons come down with Hornswoggle in tow.
And Kurt Angle comes down with his son, Jason Jordan.
And then we get to returning Mr. Kennedy.
Yeah. Can I just say how down we are right now on everything WWE, despite the fact that this was actually a really nice little pay-per-view. Every single match delivered in at least one way or another. Especially the main event was excellent, but we are all down on WWE because none of us have got any faith in their ability to book.
It's just what happens.
It's bad habits.
I thought you were going to just say we're all down on it because Shane.
Well, yeah, but that's like, Shane McMahon being involved in an angle, fine. But the problem is that he's been booked to be the face when nobody cares about him. Nobody gives a shit about.
None of his kids care about him.
I would love to see them somehow do a double turn if they did a handicap match. Yeah. And somehow have Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn come out of the match as the faces.
Mm-hmm. Oh, actually, one thing I would like to see, if you just scrap this whole thing with McMahon, I would like to see Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens be added to the tag team scene. And maybe go in with them, the Bludgeon Brothers and the Usos and the New Day. I think that would be entertaining.
It does work. I just think the problem with it for me is that they've done the thing where Sammy shocked everyone by turning heel, and he's partnered with Kevin. And then you always think, has he got an ulterior motive? Because he's always the clean-cut babyface. Is he just trying to get back at Kevin for all the things he's done to everyone? And then it sort of did happen, but it was on the SmackDown before Fastlane, and it's sort of like it was good, but it's sort of an anticlimax because you want something like that to happen for a title. Yeah,
precisely.
Yeah, in a match like that that's got multiple storylines, it would have been great if it was like if Zayn had done it to win the title, and I think he probably could have done if we weren't this close to WrestleMania and the title has to be on Styles to have the Nakamura match for the main event.
I think it's WrestleMania is undoubtedly the WWE's and probably wrestling's biggest show of the year. And we've got 4 SmackDowns and 3 Raws to go till. And still, overall, not that much of an idea what it's going to look like beyond 4 matches, really.
Well, I mean, okay, let's run them down. We've got Styles versus Styles versus Nakamura. We've got Charlotte versus Asuka. We probably got Bludgeon Brothers versus New Day versus the Usos in what will probably be the annual WrestleMania ladder match. So we've got that. I think we've probably got Shane McMahon versus, Zayn and Owens.
I don't know actually. Like those last 2 you mentioned aren't set in stone. So I think the ones that we have certainly got.
The ones we've certainly got. We've also got Reigns, Lesnar, obviously, and we've got Triple H and Steph versus Angle and Rousey.
And don't forget, we've Don't forget, we've also got the Intercontinental title match with Seth Rollins, The Miz, and Finn Balor.
Which
Which
once
I
upon a
think-
time, all of those matches would have been a WrestleMania. Like, WrestleMania 30 had about that many matches on it.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. Like, I don't think we could expect much more, to be fair, because you don't want to overbook it. That was part of the problem last year.
Yeah, and
It was too much.
Oh, and we're forgetting the 2 Battle Royales. The Andre the Giant and the Fabulous Moolah Battle Royales.
Well, we have to expect this every year now. We never
Yeah.
expect to get any sleep at this point.
I mean, to be fair, last year's was an entire working day's worth of wrestling you had to get through.
There is a
God.
strong chance that I actually hope, weirdly, that they put the Cruiserweight tournament final and the Usos match on pre-show, just so I can watch those two and then go to bed.
No, you can't do that because the 9 years they've been with the WWE, they have never once been on the main card at WrestleMania. They've always been on the pre-show.
Yeah, it's
Can't do it now after all this build up.
I'm aware when I say I hope they're on pre-show. It's purely from the selfish point of view.
Yeah, oh no, I can't. I seriously, when I saw this, I was like, even with this match on Fastlane, I still just want to see Usos and New Day, the Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels of the tag team division, because every time they lock up, it's always amazing. Today was not so great, but I think this was more of a setup for what's to come later on. But yeah, it's just, like, you know, for them to get 20 solid minutes at Mania just to do their thing would, I think, be brilliant for the Usos to say that, right, you guys have come out and you have gotten the best gimmick, some of the best mic skills. Their merchandise is selling massively as well by now. I actually think right now, as of this moment, they're actually outselling the New Day. Their Day One-ish t-shirt is doing gangbusters on WWE Shop. And so I think that would just be a massively great thank you to them for all their years of service.
Oh, don't forget, we've probably got a performance by Kid Rock as well.
And Elias, hopefully. I'm hoping Elias breaks out the guitar for it to be smashed around his face by Braun Strowman yet again.
Who do we think is going to induct Jeff Jarrett?
I was hoping AJ Styles, personally.
I think it's going to be someone from TNA, which is why I think Dixie Carter might. She's definitely going to say a few words.
Jesus, this is a weird time.
Well, they're saying the other possibility would be Road Dogg. Because he was where he got Road Dogg from was he was the roadie for Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't know?
Yeah.
And that's me. I'll see you later. I'm done. That's me dropping the mic.
Right, is everybody else done? Are we done discussing this? Because I think
Yeah.
I've exhausted all possibilities. Joseph, you alright? Cool, nice one. Well, folks, there you have it. That was a SteelChair shoot. Thank you for listening to all of our ramblings. And please don't forget to like, to subscribe, to share, and to comment if you...
What just happened? What did you do?
Lee just realised where he was, and he got depressed.
I think we just discovered that Lee himself runs on a dial-up connection.
Sorry, no, I am
She's intermittent.
Like we've been talking for some time now, so like I just had to take a sip of water while I was doing the wrap up. In fact, I'm going to take another one just now, and yeah. Right.
Cool.
Okay, right. For real this time. Well, there you have it, folks. That was a SteelChair shoot. Thank you for listening to all of our ramblings. Please don't forget to like, to subscribe, to share, and to comment if you agree or if you disagree. Check out the mag at issuu.com/SteelChair. That's issuu.com/SteelChair, where you can find out all of our back issues, and you can catch us on Twitter at SteelChairMag, and you can catch James at
James RT101.
You can catch Joe at
Not Joseph Ronchka, that's NOTJOZEF
You can catch Bradley Tiernan at
Nowhere. Leave me alone. Follow me at Bradley Tiernan. I'm not going to spell it for you.
You can find that one out on your own,
Yes.
listeners.
And you can find me at Fight Like a Cow. Thank you guys, and we will see you all next time.